Welcome to the Urban Capital Podcast, Intelligent Conversations with Marceline, London, Midlands, North.
Okay, so hi Ernest and Latoya. Thank you for joining me all the way from the US. I'm going to start by welcoming you to the Urban Capital Podcast, Intelligent Conversations with me, Marceline. And today you're going to talk to us about all sorts of things around stocks and investments and how to diversify income streams. And I can't wait to hear, lots more about all of that and your company. So can I just get you to start off each by introducing yourselves and just telling us a little bit about your background? So should we start with ladies first, Latoya?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I am Latoya Smith. I am from Boston, Massachusetts. And how I got started, I was a finance major in college. And that not necessarily prompted me into the financial world and such as trading the stock market, but I wanted to focus more on a career that would benefit my degree at that point in time. And as I graduated and got out of school, I was approached by some friends to start an investment club so we can kind of do we call it the educated thing, as we all just finished graduated from college. So we started an investment club, and that's how my love for investing or the stock market, that's how it originally started. And we fast forward to present, that's all I do to this day. I'm a full-time trader. I trade the various markets, stocks, options, as well as the foreign exchange and the futures market. And we have a platform called the Profit Room where we teach and educate people exactly how to trade the various markets so they can achieve financial freedom in itself.
Fantastic, thank you. So you must have started at quite a young age then, if you said it was at college where your interest first began.
Correct. Yeah, I was trying to remember, around probably 21, 22, wow. Around that age. Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to come back to the Profit Room in just a second. So Ernest, I'm just going to come to you. Could you do the same and just introduce yourself and tell us a little about your background?
My name is Ernest. I'm from New Jersey. I live in New Jersey, and I'm about 15 minutes from New York City. So I grew up around here, and I have a different background. My background is more skilled labor. I have a background with heating and cooling. We have a family-owned business that's been around for 40 years. And I was still into that, as well as with real estate. And throughout the years, I always read the newspaper because I'm in a work vehicle. I'm in a service van working. And when 2007 started coming, late 2007, it was always everything on the newspaper about stock market crashing, things of that nature. So that interests me. I started getting some education on my own. And with that, I hired a mentor who worked for a hedge fund. And I learned a lot more about the dynamics of the financial markets. And what happens was it started pushing me away from what I was doing with the real estate and the family business, because I started learning economics a little bit more, and I just started getting that niche behind it, because it's just like learning a new language, or learning how to play an instrument. So I started getting better and better with it, and I seen much more the freedom I have of time, the value of time versus I had over putting in certain amount of work. So I still do the work that I can if I need to, because I have that background if I need to, but I learned something else of value that I can apply. So like Latoya mentioned, so I fast forward probably around 2013 era, 2014, I started getting very, very sharp with it. So I started using that as the primary source of income, and pushed everything else towards the back end. And now here we are currently, this is what I primarily do all the time.
Wow. So effectively you're self-taught. In what you do now, in terms of the way you started.
Correct. So I just learned, then I started getting bits and pieces of education. I took like night classes here and there,
Right.
but then what really turned it up, I got a mentor. She worked for a hedge fund. So she did this professionally. So I hired them to teach me on a one-on-one basis, right? So I learned and I followed for about 2 to 3 years on how to actually do it. So I did get the education from someone who was actually doing it, not just, reading a book. And that transpired, just like having like a personal trainer. And that transpired me to be able to go off on my own and do the same exact thing.
Right. Wow. So with the Profit Room, Latoya, Ernest, you kind of offer the same sort of thing, don't you? So you really you work with ordinary people that want to either get into stocks and investments, or are looking at perhaps creating a pension, or just literally like you, Ernest, diversifying their income. So you don't have to be, I don't know, a math genius or a finance genius to be able to get into this area and to turn it into an actual income stream. Is that, I mean,
no, you don't. Like we have students and clients from all socioeconomic backgrounds. So we have students that are truck drivers, we have students that are nurses, we have students that are doctors, we have students that do retail. It's all the same type of education. We are able to structure it in a way that you can benefit from it. So it doesn't matter if you have a university degree or you are non-educated. Like I myself, I've never been to college before.
Okay.
I've been to trade school. So when I grew up, my father's business was heating and cooling, and he was successful at that. I knew I was going to do that, nothing else, because the business was established. So it was no reason for me to get any other higher education because I knew the business. So I got the theory behind that and understood how everything worked. And that allowed me to do investments and things of that nature in order to grow. Then I got educated in the stock market with the mentorship. So we get students that are just like myself, or like currently now, we have students that have MBAs in finance, that have higher degrees, but we're showing them how to trade the market because the way they're taught is a different way, where we have more of hands-on experience versus the book knowledge. So they come to us and they have all these degrees and these prestigious colleges and universities they went to, and it's even more of a humbling experience for them because, hell, this is what I need. This is the stuff I want to learn because I'm not getting it. And then they see it. Then, like I said before, we can get, I like to say, just the average Jane or Joe who just may be making a decent income that's just trying to change their life financially, and they're getting the same education and able to make the same results, whether they're highly educated or they're not highly educated, because it's still education and we put it in a way so they can benefit.
Yeah. So Latoya, picking up from that, so you don't necessarily either then need to have, millions of pounds in the bank or lots and lots of money to be able to get into stock markets then, do you? Because again, that's a notion that a lot of people have, is that you need to already be financially successful for, the markets to be an option. Talk to me about that in terms of starting out.
Not necessarily true, as in like you can start with capital as low as $100. And what's that equivalent to, like probably 90 pounds if I'm talking about US conversion. So you really do not need a lot of money at all. It's a start. And what we teach is based off of more so your risk, meaning knowing your risk in the market and knowing what you can potentially make, but all through a strategic process. Because everyone starts from a certain amount, right? We do not know a person's account size. That's always the variable. We can get clients that have large accounts and very small accounts, but we teach them the same way because it's more about being strategic and understanding risk, and every little adds up. So we teach clients that you can build a small account, and a small account can grow into a medium to large account over time. So it's a process, and when you come into these markets, it's not a get rich quick. There's no such thing. It's just
Yeah.
when you come in with the approach that, hey, I'm willing to learn and I'm willing to really see the process and build over time, we have a lot of successful students with that mindset, and that's awesome because we see it in them and through the actual results. But someone just come in and like, hey, how much can I make if I have this amount? And we're like, no, 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 you're approaching it with the wrong mindset. We prefer not to have that type of client because you have to come in here with, we call it a reasonable expectation and willing to do the work. So really a little bit of capital, not much. You don't need a lot of money to start.
Yeah, and it is, I suppose, once you get started, it is like a second job, or if you get into it full time, it's like having a job, isn't it? But like, I guess you're working for yourself and controlling your own financial future. Would you?
Well, I would say those that are getting to start, it shouldn't feel like it's a second job because they're starting a learning process. But what we would say, if you can take at least 30 to 40 minutes a day of your time to look at the materials or whatever the markets, it should be more so something at your leisure. And then eventually something at your leisure will turn into something like, wow, I really like this. Now it becomes entertaining. Now it becomes something you actually want to do. So it don't become like, man, I got to do this. And it feels like a job. That's the last thing the market should feel like is work.
Okay, no, that's good to know. So coming back to you, Ernest. So once, so if somebody signs up with you, they can, and let's say they're completely new to this, they can learn with you, as we said, from scratch, from the beginning, take that journey of learning with you through to the point where they're ready to actually start really investing real money, whether that's $100 or more, or pounds. And then you offer a service where you don't just leave people there, do you? You offer a service for clients who then want to actually get into the real, activity of investing in the stock markets, don't you? So the Profit Room can support them through that entire journey. Is that right?
Correct. So what we have, like Latoya and I, we trade every day live. So we have a community of active traders.
Right.
Now, a lot of people, because of their job situation or career, they can't sit by the computer because trading is lonely, right? So those who decide that, hey, I may work per diem, or they may be on a different time zone, right? They may be available to trade or invest with us. So we have an open community with subscribers who we tell them when we're getting in trades, when we're getting out of trades, things of that nature. And not everybody can do that. And that's the beauty behind learning how to trade or invest, is that, like Latoya said, you don't have to feel like it's a job. Many people who come to us, majority of them still have their career and they still have their passion for what they do. You don't have to quit your job and say, I'm going to just focus on trading or investing, because you may have passion for whatever job that you do, right? This is something that a lot of people want to be able to control their finances, be able to generate some extra income, help supplement a bill, majority of people. Then when they advance, they can see like, wow, this can replace having a second job. This can bring some income that's actually coming in, because once you learn the dynamics of it and the structure, you can keep a systematic way in risk management, of course, of trying to bring some consistent profits. So you don't have to put the pressure on yourself, because when you learn how to trade and invest, like you mentioned before, a lot of people ask how much money we need to start. And in the beginning, I tell everybody, this is like a video game. That's all it is. Like the kids play the video games all day and they get used to it. their kids get emotional when they lose, right? They start throwing the controller. They can't get to the next level. This is the same exact thing. So
Right.
why you don't bring money into that situation? You don't bring money. That's why we have opportunities and platforms where you can use simulation. That simulation with fake money, fake
Right.
pounds. It's not real, in order to practice and participate. And once you get over that emotional curve and you're consistent, some people say, hey, I want to be a little bit sharper. I want to be a little bit more advanced. And that's where Latoya and I can give them much more advanced options of trading every day,
Mm.
like we do every single day. But majority of the people, what we're doing as professions, may not even want to do that because of their lifestyle or volatility or their passion at what they already do.
Yeah, sure. So brings me on to a question in terms, so actually it's probably worth pointing out that you are global in terms of the Profit Room. You are both based in the US as the founders, but your service is global. Your training courses are global. You're accessible online, etc. So, and we will put out some details about how people can find you and find out more. I've seen that you've actually got a whole kit that you can actually get involved with. So, but just talking about that global aspect in terms of you offering a global service and what's happening right now, we can't avoid, everything that's going on around the pandemic. So if we start with that, we're hearing words, being used again like recession, which of course means that potentially that's 2 recessions within 10 years, which is unprecedented. People have got questions like, is it a good time to be investing in stock markets? Should we just be sitting back and seeing what happens with the economies? This is a global issue when it comes to the economies. Do either of you have kind of anything to say on that, or any advice in terms of investing at a time like this?
I would say there's no better time than now. Whenever someone's like, whenever they're hesitant to get involved, that's the time. You just
Right.
get involved, right? There's no matter waiting. When you think about the whole COVID situation that occurred early, February into March, where all the markets were taking a dive and people were hesitant, look where the market is now. We're still up in the air and increasing, right? So they hesitated now, and they're wishing that, oh man, maybe I should have invested when everything was falling. So it is really, we always say there's no better time to start than right now. You have the moment to start, just act, because you can always position yourself in order to benefit for what's to come later in the past. Even though like what's going on with the global economy is unpredictable, but at the same time, we've seen that over a period of time and within history, the markets tend to rise, right?
Yeah.
The markets are never really reflective of what's occurring now, which is kind of odd, but that's just the way it has been. And we take heed to that.
And Ernest, you said something interesting when we spoke previously about, I think relating to that actually investing in the stock market is more about, it's an emotional relationship. Explain that to me again.
So it's emotional because we value money a lot. We always value money. And you'll find out, like I was mentioned before, myself, I'm not as aggressive as Latoya may be aggressive, depending on finances. And the same thing, you can meet, like say you playing cards or dominoes with somebody, and they may come in, you might be a nice little petite young lady, but she's the one slamming the cards, slamming the dominoes, because she's very competitive. But you may not know that from the appearance of the person, right? Because they come across, and you may not know that about yourself. So when you look at the market and you look at finances and things of that nature, it brings something out about you maybe that you don't know, that you may need some adjustment on with investing or trading or things of that nature. So that's the powerful thing behind it, because some people that have thick skin when it comes to risk management. And you always see them always going out on a ledge, like in business. Like you see these super entrepreneurs and these people that have this certain type of business, they just go for it. They don't wait for a plan, because we'll find students like that that are just, they just go for it. They boom, boom, boom. And that's always been their lifestyle. Then you got some students that are very nervous and scared about certain things. So you have to adjust a plan for that. Maybe make them a little bit more aggressive and make the other ones a little bit less timid. But you have to know what type of personality that you have. And that's where I think psychologically, where trading and investing gets a bad reputation because of what majority of people may express based off of their only personal experience. Because we get people all the time that may come in and say, yeah, somebody told me not to invest in the markets, you know, because they lost so much money or they lost so much this, but they don't tell you how and why they lost that much.
Right.
But they begged them to stop. Like we had one lady, she said, they begged me, please don't get involved. I know people who lost so much money, but she had been able to become a great student because a majority of people aren't taught risk management. You know, they're not taught structure or strategic ways, because we do take losses. We take losses, but it's a controlled loss.
Right.
Right? There's a difference between losing everything and having a controlled loss, because you always have risk management. You can't always win. And the beauty behind it, if you're a student, you know what you need to do in order to recoup that loss if you have a loss, but you also know when to stop when you do have a loss, because nothing is perfect. We trade in probabilities, and everybody thinks when you get in this business from what they see on media that you automatically supposed to be the best.
Right.
You're automatically supposed to be the great. Like I'll tell you, and Latoya tell you myself, I lost thousands and thousands of dollars in this business before I was really educated. Before, like when I didn't listen to my trading coach, jumping into stuff, right? Before being hard-headed, you know, then now, like I said, okay, I get it, because we get excited. We want to jump that leap. So that's the personality thing, because some people, you know, they just get a little bit too excited.
Yeah. So it's that importance of getting the training and building your understanding of the markets, etc., before, as you said, investing that real money to minimize those losses overall. And also that relationship in terms of describing it as an emotional experience that is also reflected in the markets. I guess what you're saying, it's about risk aversion then, isn't it? How risk averse a person is. And like you said, how aggressive you might be or how cautious you might be as somebody. And that will determine the type of guidance that you might need. Would that be correct? Yeah.
It's
so
like right now, like Latoya mentioned, not to cut you off, is just like, this is the time, anytime you could learn how to trade. It's like learning how to swim and the water's choppy. Right now, the water's choppy. But you could still take somebody out in the ocean and teach them how to swim. And they're going to be a better swimmer once the water is smoother.
Yeah.
But this is the time, even when the water is choppy, I can let you know, hey, it's very dangerous over here. It's very dangerous over here. Even though you're still learning, you're building strength. So it doesn't matter what market, like COVID and the unfortunate stuff that's going on, when this stuff all smooths out, you're going to see even clearer, because it made you stronger in this particular market in order to surpass.
And that's great. That brings me on to the next thing I was going to discuss, actually, which is thinking about what's happening at the moment with whether it's the COVID pandemic, also, the protests. There were concerns around rioting, which fortunately hasn't, really erupted in the way that some people were concerned it might. But there's a real concern. In fact, in the UK just this week, there was a report released that said that COVID and the economic impact is actually going to have an even greater effect on Black people, or the Black economy, as we call it over here. I know that in America there are concerns around, the same sort of inequalities, particularly when it comes to economic conditions, the impact that has on social conditions, health, etc. So where I'm linking that back in is this a good time for businesses, certainly Black-owned businesses, to be thinking about diversification? And is stock markets an area that they could consider learning more about? And what do you say about being in that as Black people? Because again, we're not often presented with traders who are from our background. So I've thrown a lot at you there, but just kind of talk to me about what it feels like to be African American, how we should be thinking globally as Black businesses, and is the stock markets an option that we should be seriously considering?
I'd say definitely. I say always definitely. This is one of the areas where I wish more of our people will definitely consider learning and investing as well. Because when you look at it statistically and you think about the numbers, especially what it was an article that was released over the weekend, Ernest, where they spoke about the recent rise in the markets. Most Black people or most Black families are not going to benefit from it. And that's always been true time after time after time again. So it's like more so, Ernest and I, we're in a position to help change that narrative and encourage Black people to, hey, you should really consider this. You should really look into it. Even if it's not necessarily trading, but the investing aspect when it comes to wealth, or when you hear about someone's wealthy, okay, where's most of their money? Oh, it's within the market, the stock market. If it's not real estate, it's in the stock market, right? Either or both. So that's very important. I don't know if Ernest had anything to piggyback off of that, especially with that article that occurred last weekend.
Yeah, and like in the U.S., they made a law for you can actually take your money out of your retirement without a penalty.
Right.
So let's even look at that as a simple aspect. If you didn't have that there to pull out, what do you have to help you out? So if you are a business owner, and even like myself, I have real estate property as well as Latoya has real estate property.
Right.
Since the pandemic, and I'm in the hot zone. I'm in New Jersey. Besides New York, I'm the second hot zone. So, and I had a tenant that had COVID, and a couple other. If you don't go to work, right, you still have to pay for the mortgage.
Yeah.
So even though they claim that these banks want to work with you, the banks are not really working with you, because the system is against us just in general. So where are you getting that extra income in order to survive? So imagine a business owner and you have a store or a shop or something of that nature. Now you have to close because you're non-essential.
Right.
This is a wake-up call. So even if you're not actively trading or whatever, but say you put a percentage of your business earnings into the stock market, maybe for the past 4 or 5 years, when this time came around, you may realize, hey, I need to take some of these pounds out to take care of me. So my business doesn't go up, doesn't fall under, So when you're in a situation like that, you don't want to crumble. You don't want to crumble, because I know a lot of landlords and I know a lot of business owners. There's people now that's taking advantage of other people. So if tenants realize they don't have to pay, they're not going to pay. So, you got to go through the court system to evict them. I know in New Jersey, you won't get a court date until next year.
Wow.
So, because it's so backed up. So if you're going all these months without nobody paying you rent, and the bank's on your back, and you're pushing your credit down, and vice versa, or if you have a business and it's still closed, all these months you may owe the landlord, reporting your credit. It's just small things like that. That is not that the stock market or the currency market is going to absolutely change your life, but it's an opportunity for you to participate and be able to have that safety net. You have that little safety net just to help you during times of need.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how I would look at it.
Yeah. Thank you both very much for being so insightful. And as I said, what I'm going to do is put together some links to your website and contact details, so that obviously people want to get in touch with you and find out some more about, you know, how you can coach them, how you can support them. And as I said, people in the UK can contact you, can't they? And they get, it's one-to-one coaching, isn't it, as you said, and they have online resources, there's all sorts.
Yes.
So we have regular strategic structure courses. Then there's opportunities for a lot of people, they upgrade for the one-on-one, because once you learn and you read and you apply, sometimes you need a little tweaking. But a lot of our students go with our one-on-one because they get direct access to us for like Zoom. We're able to explain and break a lot of stuff down that they may not understand just by viewing the actual course.
Yeah.
But then there's some people who are very sharp that get it right away. But it's all designed for beginners who know absolutely nothing about the different markets, even to advanced traders
Right.
who want to be able to sharpen up their skills.
Right, brilliant. And so if somebody wants to go ahead, they literally get in touch with you via the website, and they can kind of inquire, obviously talk to you about what level they're at, or you can help them establish perhaps what level they're at. Is that also an option, Latoya?
Yep, that's an option. They can head to our website, the contact information. We're very accessible. Send an email. That's one of the ways they can find us. Or Facebook, that's a very broad platform. We're on there as well. Our Facebook page for the Profit Room. They can send a message there as well.
Brilliant. And I'd like to, even though to put it out, and if people have any questions, I'd like to invite you to do another podcast with us, perhaps with some specific questions that our audience may have for you, because I think we're going to get a lot of interest, in what you do. Would that be all right?
That'll be all right. Yes.
That'll be just fine. Yep.
Brilliant. Okay.
Who's there?